Hello and welcome to another 3D printing video. So today I'm going to take you through the full process to show you how you can use 3D printing to make modifications to existing products, to either personalize it, improve it, add an extra element of creativity and possibly even make something unique. So today the item I'm going to modify is this cheap RGB desktop color changing light. It's a standalone battery powered device, 3 batteries, with a push button operation, and when you press it, it cycles through 4 colours: white, red, green and blue. So the piece that we are going to be modifying is this piece on top to make something like this or like this. So let's take it apart. So after taking it apart, you can see it's a really simple construction, only held together by these 2 screws and this twist on bottom cover, housing a single board at the center where there is a color changing LED and a push button. So when it's fully assembled, the push button is pushed by this small piece of plastic where one of the legs makes contact with the button as the pressure is applied, and the light is diffused through the top. It's quite a clever design too, as the middle piece is directed into place to make sure the leg is set directly over the button in the resting position, so you can't put it on incorrectly. So the part we're going to modify is this small plastic top which pushes the button. So one of these legs pushes the button. So the first task is to replicate this piece. So we could scan it, we could 3D scan it, but it's only made up of 3 shapes, so fairly simple design. So therefore we're going to redraw it in Tinkercad. I've talked about this before, and I use Tinkycad because it's a great beginner tool and opens the door to using more sophisticated packages such as Blender. So once you understand the concept of working in the 3 planes, X, Y and Z, it's easier to make that step up. So let's go. So the other thing I want to mention is purchasing a good set of calipers so that you can measure very accurately, because the design we're copying today is really rather small. So the smaller the design, the greater margin of error. So something like these are really going to be your friend. So you're able to measure some really sort of small gaps, things like that, and it gives you a very accurate measurement. So yeah, just want to mention that this is a good tool to own. So here we are in Tinkercad. We are going to recreate this dome cap. So we'll use the shapes that are already there. So we'll start with this dome, and we'll put in our measurements that we took with the digital caliper. So it's circular, so we've got to maintain the dimensions. And there we have it. There's a dome. Okay, so the next part now is trying to get, we're going to need to get the height correct first of all. So again, go back to the calipers, measure it, put the value in. So now obviously we need to make it hollow. So here's a little trick. We duplicate the image. So here we go, let's duplicate it. And then now we're just going to make it ever so slightly smaller. So we get like a 2mm wall or a 1mm wall. Let's see, let's play around with these numbers. Let's put 39.5 now. So we'll turn it into a hole because we want to hollow out the original shape. And then here comes the nice little trick in Tinkercad. We can line it up perfectly. And there we go. So we can see it's in there. So now we just need to group it together to make it one piece. Just allow it to catch up here. And there we go. Oh, we've gone too far. Okay, let's redo that. We don't want the hole in the top. So let's ungroup it, and we'll just pull the hole slightly further out. So like I said, this is where the experimentation comes in ever so slightly. But the tools are easy enough to use, so you can get it right. Let's go down to 1mm actually. Let's see. That's it. So let's group this now. And there we have it. So there's our dome. So now we just need to go ahead and make the legs. So again, going back to the shape builder tool, there's going to be something in here, so we'll just use a square block along with the wedge piece that I can see. So let's just reduce these dimensions down a bit because the legs are tiny. We did measure them, so it's about 5 mil by 4.5 mil. So height is about 4.5. The width is about 5. So let's just get this block sized up. So we'll just make it 1 mil thick at the moment, because again the legs are not very wide at all. So it's going to be sitting on the edge of the lip of the dome anyway, so we can just marry it up that way. So this wedge is far too big, so let's get it in place. There we go, the handles for resizing make it really easy to use. I'm zooming in and out with the mouse, by the way, the wheel on the mouse. And if you right click, you can move the angle and move the actual view around. You can center it differently. So let's shorten this a little bit first. Get it up to where we need it to be. There we go, that's looking more like it. So it's not an exact point, so we can deal with that in a moment. So let's just group this piece together to make it as one, and then we can chop off bits of it. In fact, let's see if we can resize it here now. Nope, too far. We don't want that straight edge in the middle of the wedge. So let's just do this for now. Let's kind of group this piece as it is. So that makes it one piece. So now we can use a hole shape again, just to take that piece off the top, because we just don't need it that long. So this doesn't need to be precise because we're just going to use it to cut the top off, basically, to make it more manageable. That's it. So maybe one more. Yeah, further down a bit more. So you can change the amount it moves by the edit grid button in the corner there. So there we go, that's looking more like it. So what we need to do is duplicate this now for the other side. So all the work is done, and we just need to flip it around. And again, you can punch these numbers in. As you can see, I'm using the mouse to line it up. It can be a bit fiddly, but if you want to tap the number in, you can. So again, let's just see if these line up, which I'm sure they will do because they're exact duplicates. So yeah, there you go. So now let's put them onto our dome piece and just line them up that way. So this one over there, this one over here. So again, moving the view around with the mouse is very, very nice. Just it's very quick, just to get an angle on the piece that you need to really put it in position. Because again, working in X, Y, Z, you have to get used to it. Oh, I don't want to change the height. Okay, so we are getting there. Let's just place it on the very edge here. So again, I'm moving this with the arrow keys, and they will move by the scale that you've set on the edit grid button. So you can get some really fine detail and get it exactly where you need it. Okay, so that looks like it's on the edge there. So the critical thing here would be getting the height correct where the actual legs are going to sit. So we're going to print this piece and see where we are with it. So let's just line these legs up with the piece itself. There we go. We don't want to put the middle button, nope, or that one. So that is right. So all we need to do now is group it to make it one piece. Just checking out all sides, it's all lined up. And there we go. Okay, so that is our dome piece recreated. So all we need to do now is send it to, or put it into Cura, and get it printed so we can start testing it. So let's export this as an STL. Let that download. Moving into Cura now. Let's get that piece in there. Gives it a funny name. And here we go. Looks good. So here we're not going to print at the standard quality. We're just going to print at the draft quality because it'll make it much quicker. It'll use less plastic, and we may have to print this several times again because this is going to be our template piece. So we're going to print this piece to put it in place of the original to see how far away we are, and then we can use this piece as a template to work out where the legs need to be for any model that we're going to create for the top of it. So, so let's just slice this, and there you go, half an hour. Not too bad. So let's just check it out in the preview. So here we go, we can see all the supports that's going to print. So that should be, yeah, that should be pretty quick. And let's get it printed. Okay, so as you can see, I printed several of them. So here's the original piece. And here is the eventual final piece that it actually turned out to be. So the reason why we have these pieces here, because these are failures. So this one that has no legs, I tried to press it into the holes there, and it was just slightly out of the wrong angle or the wrong width of the leg, I think it was in the end, and it just pinged off and snapped. So eventually, when I finally got down to the finer points of the design and working it out, it did actually work. So we've got a perfect replica, and I'll show you that by putting it in place right now into this enclosure. So here we have it. It's in place, it's in the lights, and just to show that it does work, there we go. It shines through quite well. And remember, this is the draft setting. So if we put it up on the higher standard setting, then we get a much cleaner sort of finish. But part one is done for now, so we can use this now as our template to go and put any model that we want on the top. Right, so moving into Thingiverse now, we're going to look for a couple of designs. I found this one here called Easter Cats by Tomo Designs, and the other one is a Pac-Man Ghost by Ross the Giver. So this one looks like we're going to have to hollow it out, but that would work really well for the top of the lights. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead with these two. It looks like we might have to modify this ever so slightly though, to make everything fit. But these are the two designs we're going to go with for now. So let's download them and get them into Tinkercad. Okay, so here we are back in Tinkercad. Let's get this model imported. So it came with several different styles of cats. So we're going to choose the Winky Cat. And we're going to just scale it down a little bit here just to get it imported ever so slightly quicker. And so this bit can take up to a minute to import. So I've shortened the time here a little bit just to save you on waiting. And there we have it. So here's our model. Okay, so first off, I see we can't use the part with the tail because it tapers off, the main body tapers off towards the bottom there. So let's just cut this down so we can get the fattest piece. So then we can eventually get it to line up with the legs. So let's just move that out of the way. Okay, so here we are, we have a hole. So let's just get roughly sized up. And we're going to cut it down to the point where the tail starts. Just so that we're working with a model that we can then centralise and marry the two pieces up together and perfectly centre them. Okay, so that bit has gone. Okay, so now we can put our template piece over the top of this piece. So get them grouped together and all lined up, and then we can see at what point we can get the width of the cat's body to meet the width of the legs. So let's just flip this over, get the right way around. And I can already see it's going to be way off. That's probably because we scaled it down 75%. So let's just have a look how far off we are. Yeah, we're quite off here. Okay, so let's get the cat slightly bigger. It's the only way to solve this. Yeah, I mean it lines up, but obviously the sizing doesn't. So let's take this up to 50. There we go, that's more like it. Okay, so now let's line all these up again. Okay, so we're a lot closer now. So now let's just get the body to the point where it meets the legs. Just move the model down a bit. So we're going through the floor here. Yep, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut the model down to the point where the legs are actually meeting the main body here. So let's pull in a hole. I mean, a lot of these processes that we use in Tinkercad are all the same. So so this is a good sort of example to show you guys where you can use the holes, you can use the lining up techniques, the grouping techniques, all this sort of stuff, just to kind of make your life a bit easier and to understand how the software works and how to get the most out of it. So here I realise we're going to have to cut through the floor a little bit. So let's get the hole to go right through the floor, up to the point where our legs meet. And then we don't want to delete or remove those legs. I mean, we could have made a copy and removed it anyway, but it'll then be forever part of the model, and we don't want that. So let's just move that out of the way. So we have to go into it just to get a piece that we can grab. And now let's group this. Sorry, no, not group it. No, we don't want to group it. Well, we do want to group it, but we want to group the single model. Okay, there we go. Right, that is looking more like it. So the only thing left to do now is to hollow out this cat. And again, I already showed you the technique for doing that, so we're going to replicate that again here. So that involves in duplicating the piece, turning it into a hole, marrying them back up again, and then we're left with a hole. So here we go. So we've got it duplicated. We're going to make it ever so slightly smaller. So let's go down to 46. Yeah, 46. Come, let's go. Let's go to 46. So even on each side. Okay, so let's get these two married up. Yep, sorry, not grouped. I want to line them up, so let's just ungroup that. Here we go, right, line them up. Completely centered. So one piece is inside the other piece now, so we're going to have to lift this slightly just so that we do get a hole at the bottom. Otherwise, it'll only hollow the center, the very middle. And I can't see where that's come out. Let's do that again. Here we go. Right, okay. So, yeah, let's get it sticking out by a mil or so. So it doesn't matter that it's floating at the moment, because we're going to put the legs on in a moment. Okay, so now we should have a hollow cat. Looking good. Let's just double check. Yep, it looks hollow to me. Okay, right, let's get the legs on. So again, we're going to ungroup this piece that we made earlier because we don't need the dome, we only need the legs. And remember, we only did this to get the legs in the correct position. So again, let's remove this dome, let's get rid of it, we don't need it. We're going to have to group the legs together though, because at the minute they're two individual pieces. So let's get this grouped. And remove the dome, let's get rid of the dome, don't need it. So just need the legs. And again, it's the same tools again. We line up the legs with the bottom of the cat body. Group it, we want to line it up, that's it. Line it up first, then group it. So we're slightly high here, so let's just bring that model down. So bring the cat model down to meet the legs because the legs are on the floor. There we go, looks good. And in Tinkercad, the colours are designed to show you pieces that are not grouped together. So you may have noticed that when you do group it, it all becomes one colour. So when they're not grouped, when they're not grouped, they are different colours. So let's just change our scaling here. So let's go 0.5 mil, so that when we move this, it moves at 0.5 mil as opposed to 1 full mil. So again, you can take that scaling off completely, so you can have it 0.1 of a mil. And there we go. Okay, so as a first look, it looks good. First design looks good. So again, let's get that grouped, and it should turn into the same colour. There you go. So that is one piece now, which we can, let's export it, get it into Cura, and slice it up and see how long it's going to take. So as I mentioned before, you could do this on a draft piece, just to save yourself a bit of time. But I'm also going to show you another technique for saving a bit of time straight after this. So let's just get this model finished first of all. So we're going to make it, let's print it upside down, because otherwise it would need a lot of infill in the centre to generate support, so that eventually prints the top. Whereas this way, once it's done the bottom piece, it's just a case of the nozzle going round and round in circles to build the rest of it. So that should save us a lot of time and plastic. So here we go, 2.5 hours, that's on low quality. Let's just get it up to the standard quality. Infill, let's go 15%, so anywhere between sort of 10 and 20 is good. Let's get the zigzag infill pattern and slice away. Let's have a look, let's see what happens here. Okay, so it shouldn't be longer, shouldn't be much longer than 2.5 hours. Oh, there you go, just under 3 hours. Let's have a look how it was going to print it. So the blue bits you see are the support material. So again, in Cura they've now added support blockers. So if you don't want to print that support, you bring a blocker in, block off that piece, and then reslice it, and it removes it. Removes the support in that area. Can be a bit fiddly, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so let's get ready to print this, and away we go. Okay, so just before I show you the final pieces, I just want to mention that you probably won't get the design right first time, as is the nature with developing anything new, which is why it's important to use the tools to correct any mistakes, such as the calipers, or even when you're going through the process of the design, you can dial down the quality settings on the printer to print what are known as draft pieces until you go for the final sort of piece, which you know it's going to work. But I just want to talk about another process that I used in this particular design, and that was to only print the bottom piece of the model. So that was using the same technique in Tinkycad to make a hole, and I just chopped the entire model off, so I only had the bottom bit. So I knew that, you know, this only takes like 20-25 minutes to print, to get the design right for the height of the legs, because this was critical. And this is where the calipers will come in really handy. So you can print down to like 0.1 of a millimeter to get that absolutely perfect. And in this case, the light had to stay relatively loose or have some wiggle room in order to push the button and spring back into place. So yeah, so I just wanted to mention that we can make draft pieces such as this. And so here they are in their final form, just so they do work. I can control the colours. So as you can see, I did make the ghost as well, which was exactly the same technique as the cat. You know, hollowing out the piece, lining up the legs, measuring, printing. Luckily this one went right first time, so I didn't have to really do anything apart from the jagged edges on the bottom of the ghost. There's some were slightly sticking up, so I just clipped them. You know, it took like literally like 0.2 of a mil off each little jagged point, just to make it a better fit. So so yeah, there you go. I'm really pleased with them. I hope you can make something enjoyable too.